Hello everyone, I'm GoggleCandy, and today we're going to be talking about every single case in Ace Attorney. Now, I'm not here going to say, like, wonderful, great, okay, then go, like, we're going 3 tiers with this, okay? Because I felt like I needed to put tiers to some extent, so we're just going stars. So 3 stars, great case. There could be issues with it too, but just generally it's a great case. 2, it was okay. It served its purpose and it was fine. It had some flaws or wasn't maybe as engaging, but whatever. And 1 is just, it was bad, or it had too many flaws to really have me enjoy it, or had peak flaws, we'll say. We'll call them peak flaws, right? And we're going to be going through all 6 of the core games. We're going to be going through Great Ace Attorney. We're going to have a discussion about Layton. He played other games in the Xeno series. I have, as a quick aside, I have played through all of Xeno Saga, Xenogears, Xenoblades 1 and 2. I merely have not played Xenoblade X. That's the only one I have not played. Yes, I have played games in the Xeno series. The games on here, because this is like a tier list someone else put up, we're not going to be talking about Ace Attorney Investigations, mostly because I don't really remember much about the games, which, like, says a lot about the memorability of those games. Like, I remember aspects of it. Like, I remember the entire last case, quote-unquote case, of the first game. Like, I want to say the last third took place in the same hallway where we didn't move, and it felt like we were going in the same circles. Like, I just remember not really enjoying that. I'm doing... Yes. Ace Attorneys 1 through 6. That's why I didn't say Phoenix right. I said Ace Attorney. So, Ace Attorneys 1 through 6. So that it does include Apollo... Well, Char. We're going to be going chronologically, so you can stay for now, okay? And besides, like, I'm going to go into an amount of spoilers, but, like, obviously I'm not going to go into anything too deep. And actually, because Char, you played great Ace Attorney, right? Like, if you wanted to stick around for talking about that and Layton, like, I can leave the second half, like 4 through 6, to last, which in a sense, which does make sense in that it is easier to play the trilogy in Great Ace Attorney right now, because 4 through 6 you still need a 3DS to play. I stream in an hour anyway. Okay. Well, I'll go to an extent, and we'll see if you're still here. Okay. But without further ado, just so we can have this discussion, let's start talking about Ace Attorney. All right. So we're gonna go with the first case. This thing at this point, the first case with Larry Butts and the clock with the thinker. And actually, here, I pulled these up for a reason, right? I pulled these up so I can grab the synopsis Wikipedias for each one. So, is this the first? Did it not load the right case? It did not write the load. Hold on. There's 2 different links they give for these. This, and then... There we go. If I click these ones, it gives me the loadouts. Yeah. So here's our first case is with Larry Butts and the Thinker. Hey, Queenie BB. Hello, Ren.
That's what it's all about.
Ooh, hello. Herbs. I will today play Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I played the re-release on Switch. What's up? We're starting in on Ace Attorney. I'm talking about I'm doing this thing with all the Ace Attorney cases. So we just started. So this is the first case we have, okay? This is, at this point, everyone's played through this case. This case is done really quick for an Ace Attorney case. And it serves this purpose. It is straightforward. It lets you both, like, kind of slowly lead in to, like, how you're supposed to cross-examine, present evidence, everything that a tutorial case should do. The Frank saw it, throwing the toupee at this point has been, like, done to death in every sort of medium. Play Fall Guys, and then a VTuber I watched in like 20. Do it. Hey, do it up. Like, what other VTuber? I'm kind of curious. Play the 3D version. Yeah. Yeah. Neff, thank you for the sub. Thank you. 14 months. My goodness. Hello. But the first case, it serves its purpose. It is memorable. It's not too deep, but it does what it needs to do, right? Tsukino Diana. Okay, I'll have to look that up later. I do like VTubers that play. I'm actually gonna give this 3 stars. It's, if you put it alongside every other case, you'd be like, well, these other cases are far more in depth, do more investigation. Yes, but this case had a very important job, which was to get people invested in the series and to make them feel accomplished. And most everyone felt that bit of accomplishment. Some people disagree on like the whole time frame thing at the end, but generally it did its job. It introduced all the elements to, like, you know, Phoenix Wright to new people, and it did exactly what it needed to do. And you can't say that you don't remember this if you played through the game. Like, it's, you know, everyone remembers if they played through the game, just getting that toupee thrown at them, right? That was like the introduction to like a witness breakdown, which we will talk about those as well, right? So we'll give it 3 stars. You know, good start, right? So the next one is, I think, the first one where I tend to disagree with people with, which is Turnabout Sisters. All right, this is the one where, and again, like this happens within hours of the game. This pushes the whole narrative of the game, where Mia Fey gets murdered. Like, I'm not, no big Ace Attorney spoilers here. That happens real quick. Anime, manga, everything. It's a cornerstone of the series, and you have to, you know, figure out who murdered her. You when you do find her, you find her body next to her sister Maya, who is, again, a mainstay of the series, talking about how her and her sister, the Fae clan, were part of spirit mediums, which is a whole other thing that's introduced to the series, right? And a lot of the character building with Mia and Maya in this case is wonderful. It's again, more of what we needed. And the what was her name? The April May, the woman who says she saw this pink-haired lady here, who says she saw the murder and screamed and all this, and has kind of a duplicitous face about her. Very memorable character, very memorable. And then you get the April Hottie, and then you got the whole scene with the bellboy, which a lot of people remember. Like, we were dead in the water, and then we break through some part of the bellboy, which when you do exposes, you know, some kind of bull crap from Miles Edgeworth, because again, we face against Miles Edgeworth in this one too. We are introduced to him. Like, a lot of memorable people are introduced in this. Here's where I have an issue, all right? The big villain, who is Red White, promoted as this big baddie, has control over everything, right? Has his thumb on every influential figure. First off, for the second case, this seems a bit too far. Like, the way they portray him makes him sound like he is a bigger bad than who you end up going against at the end, against Von Karma. But he goes down like such a bitch. And, like, there's this, I don't like him as a big bad. And not only do I not like him as a big bad, you're not even the one who catches him. It ends up being Maya coming back, like, you know, doing the whole spirit medium thing, who makes him do his thing. Like, and yeah, he can be goofy. Goofy is fine. He can be goofy. But, like, he never feels like a big bad. People talk about how big a bad he is, but he never feels like he is the big bad. Miles is our antagonist, right? But it never feels like Red White is ever the man in control. Like, he has a scene where he punches us, oh, say something, ha ha ha. But, like, he never feels like the biggest bad, which always stuck in my craw, right? And here's the other thing. Mia coming back from the dead to, like, doing the list thing and making him confess, right? But the other thing that she does is she's like, you have the answer, check the receipt. Because the big twist in the case was, Maya's name was written in blood on the receipt, But like if you look on the back of the receipt, it gave like this timestamp for this lamp stand that kind of showed that he was the killer, right? But again, that wasn't us. That was Mia. Like, we didn't put him away at all. Like, it was Mia both times that put him away, technically. And I actually pulled something up from the movie. And mind you, if you've not seen the live action movie, it is friggin' great. It is amazing. And the movie actually does this scene much better. Like, it's much more cathartic because in the game, we're pulled out into the defense room. Mia's like, look at the back of the receipt. You look at it. It's entered as a new evidence, and then you go back in and you present the evidence. And you don't, as a player, even need to understand why this makes sense. Just, oh, I just do this and I win. Like, it falls so flat. But how they did it in the movie, I actually really liked. So I'm just going to play this clip from it.
どうしました？
引き際をわきまえぬ弁護士ほど惨めなものはない。
証人が電気スタンドを見たのは盗聴器を仕掛けた時じゃない。
この文字のことならば、すでに決着はついている。
問題はこっちじゃない。裏側にあるんです。
これは電気スタンドの領収書ですか？
はい。この日付によると事件の前日の午後4時過ぎに発行されています。つまり証人が事務所に侵入したという事件の1週間前、あの電気スタンドはまだなかったんです。
So like that scene, like how they do it in that, it hits a little harder because they build it up correctly. Like he presents like to the audience being us. Like if we like, I'm not sure how they would maybe do it like in maybe the game, but just I didn't like how they did it. But in the movie, he presents the receipt. And it's like, why is he presenting the receipt? And he turns around and it's a receipt, and the judge is for the light stand. And like there could be people like it's that as they give us more information, more and more people get it, and that sort of slow reveal is beautiful. It is wonderful, but there are things in this case that just stick to me. Like it's a good case, but I would not give it 3 stars. As much as there are notable characters in it, I can't go higher than 2. All right. Turnabout Samurai. I'm just putting up 3, and we're gonna discuss why it's a 3. Turnabout Samurai, first off, does introduce more mainstays of the series, specifically Old Bag. It gives us more character to Edgeworth. Before he was like this indomitable person. Now here's Edgeworth, and Edgeworth is a fan of this Turnabout Samurai show. Turnabout Samurai is essentially like our Kamen Rider Power Ranger show, right? It's probably, I think it's a little closer to Kamen Rider, and like Edgeworth, like it's fed to us really, really well that like Edgeworth is a fan without really like him going fanboy. But for that we have this little snot-nosed little punk down there, in the green. What was his name again? Where's his name? Cody. Cody Hackins. We get Cody, who is like, he basically shouts out like his thoughts on what he thinks is happening, what a hero should be, that all these adults are doing nothing. And it does make a point of referring him back to Edgeworth. Actually, I don't like how the anime did a lot of things, but they did this entire case exquisitely well. Because this is where Edgeworth starts to realize what the job of prosecutor should be. It's not, I need to fight for a win. I need to fight for the truth. And this is like, because we get through this whole case and we find out that I think it's the director, right? That's her name, the woman back there. What was the director's name? Is it Vasquez. We found out that Vasquez is the one that actually killed him. Like there's a picture of it there, where like he gets shoved on this fence and it's like stabs him in the suit. And there's the the case is almost lost, and then Edgeworth objects, and he's not sure why he's objecting, but he knows like he can't allow this woman to win. And it's set up really well for him, right? Like he doesn't have this big swerve of consciousness, but like he's placed in a situation where the thing that he loves, that he really loves, the samurai show, everything about it. Cody already shouted about like what, like, you know, what are you doing? This is like this show that we love. This is the person who plays it. And Edgeworth does say like he's a fan of the defendant Will Powers who's being put on trial. He's a fan of his work. And there's so much behind him, and that little tingling that something's wrong, he objects, but he's not sure what he's objecting to, and he gets that one bit of testimony out of Vasquez. At which point there is a gotcha moment in it, but the gotcha moment is hidden in truths. So you have to realize what truth in there doesn't make sense instead of finding the lie. And when you find it, it gives a really satisfying aha moment. Like, I don't know why. I feel like people sleep on Samurai as far as a case because it suffers from that third case syndrome, right? Because in a lot of the Ace Attorney series, cases 1, 2, and 4 tend to be very story heavy, where 3 is like almost like this filler episode feel. But Samurai is so good and gives so many other so many characters a chance to be more of that character and better establishes the universe of these people that I love this case. And third case syndrome, yeah, third case syndrome is a bitch, is a bitch. Though that has a bit of a different meaning in 5 and 6, but obviously I'll get to that sometime later. But yeah, this case generally is really good. It's the only part of the anime that I really like, because the anime tends to just kind of retread, wherein here they do what they should be doing, which is expanding on and talking more and showing what is happening, because we don't get that in Ace Attorney as much because it's very like, you know, still pictures and text. But here, like action that was described in the game, we get to see it, and it's very satisfying. So Samurai gets 3 stars. All right. So we get to the original last case in the first game. All right, this is the one that like the movie builds up to. This is one where like it's just so many memes came out of this. There's in universe, like in fandom memes and out of fandom memes, right? This is the one where he interviews a parrot. This is the "It's not Christmas yet" meme comes from here. DL6 became a thing for a while. Actually, the date of DL6 comes around as well. This is, yeah, we get Manfred Varden Karma, who kind of has like this kind of ghostly kind of like he never it never feels like he goes away. Like he only shows up in investigations after this, but it never feels like he goes away. And then we get Lotta Hart. Lotta's a great character for this. Yeah, good for you. Good for homework. Yeah. We get the fake Nessie monster whole like subplot thing going on. I'm just making sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, Karma's breakdown, which is one of the better breakdowns in the series. Yeah, there is a lot behind this case, and it feels like it feels big. Like we technically win, but then we're thrust back into the case because of Edgeworth and because of Von Karma. And a lot of the like, I will say I had an issue around the point of the interview, like the cross-examining a parrot, right? Which funny, and like it's an easy segment kind of to get through. It felt to me. The whole section with Lotta Hart felt great. All the revelations with the evidence through that felt great. And then going against Von Karma felt really good. it felt so good to put him down, right? Um, and I think there was a point. Yeah, there's a point where like because Von Karma's had this stranglehold on the court system, and there's a point where we kind of have to leave it up to the judge, who has kind of just been this face in the courtroom. He has a bit of a character to him, and he's like, "Nah, I'm here to do my fucking job. Sit down, shut up. Defense gets to talk now." And like even Von Karma's put it like back a bit, um, and it's fantastic. Like this entire case, top to bottom, is so good, and it also goes into 3 stars. And mind you, I'm not just giving 3 stars because I can. Trust me, we have things that are not 3 stars. But yeah, I don't think I can really say anything more about this case than it already was. Now, Rise from the Ashes. So, Rise from the Ashes was an additional case added when the first Ace Attorney was re-released on the DS version of the game. It was not in the original Japanese Game Boy Advance version of the game. And it is it was just packed with the English release of the game. And it is, I think, technically the second longest, which honestly, it feels like the longest. Because it does a full 3-day investigation thing. Each investigative period feels like it takes forever. Each court, room segment feels like it takes forever. It it gives us Emma. Emma's a great character, and she shows up later, right? Yeah. I don't know why I said right. Like, oh no, she doesn't. Yeah, she does. Um, and Emma later comes back in later games. After her appearance here, and she's great. She is a wonderful addition. She does all this stuff with the touchpad. Can I introduce that as evidence? Do luminol sprays and science stuff and all this cool, whatever. And I will give the credit to, like, I remember very clearly there's a segment with Jenkins the cop where you have to investigate a videotape. That felt new. That felt fresh. I liked that. I really liked that. That being said, this felt like it dragged. And not only did it drag, it ruined the ending that we got in the last case. Because at the last case, we got this ending where Edgeworth kind of like left, and like it was left up to like did he like where is he going? Is he quitting? Is he ever coming back? Like it was left very like the man had to leave to do his own thing. And then suddenly, oh, he's back for this. Like if you played in the English version, which I'm sure everyone here did, you went from 4 with this really satisfying kind of ending and cliffhanger for like the next game to this Rise from the Ashes. Oh, Edgeworth's fine. Okay. And then you get like Gantz is a really good antagonist. Like he is a good antagonist. But how we get to him feels so clunky. It is so not clear how we're supposed to do it. And just everything about this case just felt like so many chunks of it felt so clunky, and it felt so long. Like if I ever played through the trilogy again, which mind you, like is like rereading a book, it's not as exciting like the second time around. Um but like I would not play Rise from the Ashes if I did. I can't say I would play Rise from the Ashes. And like there's so much that I don't like about this case that I would put it as a 1 star. And I know a lot of other people think differently of it, and there are positives to it. But if you sat me down and said like, "Here's the original trilogy, play through it," I would skip Rise from the Ashes. I would skip it entirely. It feels like it's too much work to get to the end goal, and the whole point, the whole last part where we're actually getting Gantz, feels so clunky. Like I do not like that ending part. Like if it was more along the lines of like the second half with like the 2 officers, it was Meekins and Who's the other officer? What was the cowboy one? It's Meekins and was it Neil? Marshall. Meekins and Marshall. And Meekins does show back up later on, more or less in investigations. And honestly, I think Meekins is a great character. I like Meekins as a character, but like, I can't, like, I just don't like it. So that's the first game done, right? So now we jump to the second game, Justice for All. This is the game where we're introduced to Maya's very, very, I would say, memeable cousin. Let me scroll down here. So this is where we get introduced to Pearl, and we have probably one of the most infamous cases. And I'll explain why it's bad and not that bad when we get to it. So first off, Lost Turnabout. This is our new like introductory thing. Like, so if you jumped into Ace Attorney in the second game in Justice for All, this is your like tutorial case. And like they go the amnesia route here, like, oh, he gets knocked in the head, blah blah blah. And for people jumping back in this, like, who played the first game, there are things that you need to pay attention to this one. Like, this is the first game where you can present people as evidence. So when they say like, who did who are you suspecting being the killer, you present like an actual profile of someone. Or if their profile said that they were one age and the evidence says another, you present their profile. Like, presenting people as evidence is introduced in this game. And we get a pretty good antagonist here in what was his name? What is your name, you butthead? He gave his name as Richard Wellington. Yeah, he isn't it? Yeah. He's the this little cocky boy here who knocks us out. And as honestly as a tutorial case, I feel like this is one of the best tutorial cases ever. Like, it's not that long. It's more fleshed out than the first game. Maggie's a great sort of like character to work off of. The case itself is actually pretty good for how short it is. Fancy pants boy over here, wonderful to put away. And there's some really good aspects of it that call back to the first game. Maya shows up as your assistant, and it's just it itself is just it's a really good tutorial, right? So this one gets a 3-star. This really good tutorial, probably I think one of the best tutorials, like tutorial cases. All right, Reunion and Turnabout. So Reunion and Turnabout introduces Pearl. It introduces the idea of the Magatama and the Cyclops. Now, let me get rid of that. So they talked about how Maya was a spirit medium, and through that she was able to summon Mia, which is how Mia was able to like interact in the first game. Well, we go and see the Fey Village, and we meet Pearl, who apparently is stronger in spiritual power than Maya. And Pearl knows us through Maya as quote unquote the boyfriend, because Pearl has a view of the world where like, oh, you two hang out, you must be lovers, and blah blah blah. And she very quickly trusts Phoenix. And she gives us a Magatama. Oh, no. Maya gives us the Magatama. Pearl powers it up. And the Magatama is an investigative tool to make investigations a little more interesting. Wherein if someone lies or is hiding something, these locks show up. And you get the locks, knocked away by presenting the Magatama. And then you go into like this little kind of cross-examining side game where you present evidence to show that they're covering up the truth in order to get more out of them. And it's a good working mechanic. And though the locks are called psych locks, And they show up as these red locks, usually just red locks. And the case itself is very interesting, but, and here's the but, right? Like, mind you, like the antagonist of this case, what's her name? Don't give me crap. Oh yeah, that's right. Lotta Hart shows back up. Morgan Fay, which is Pearl's mom. Her goal is to get Maya framed for murder, so Maya, like, is no longer head of the family, and Pearl becomes the head of the family because family heads and sub families and all that bullcrap. And what is the girls' names? Yeah, Eeny Meeny, and her, like, they talk about the dead sister, Mimi Minnie. Later, it turns out that Eeny Meeny is actually the sister. They were switched after a car accident where one of the sisters died, and they're a great foil. Okay, see you, Red. Thank you for stopping by. They're great foil. They're great antagonists. As is Morgan Fay, and Morgan Fay continues to work behind the scenes, like in later games, to try and get rid of Maya. But, all right, here's the but. The actual case, like, the first half is fine. No, actually, no. That's where a lot more issues come in. Is the first half. A lot of stuff about, like, a bullet hole and a screen and a clothes hamper, and like this case suffers from not only being clunky and confusing at times and using kind of like Ace Attorney logic, quote unquote. It also presents everything to you to where the player very easily is playing ahead of where the case is, and therefore presents stuff because they know where it's going, but they have to step by step get there. Which, mind you, yeah, that's something that you kind of have to kind of work through. Okay, that makes sense. But when it's presented poorly with a clunky logic and a clunky delivery, it's not fun. It's not fun gameplay. And there are parts of this that do feel good. Like when you finally actually get Eeny Meeny on the stand, that flows a lot easier. But like the first half, not so much. Oh, that's right. What am I forgetting? You also get to meet Francisca von Karma, which is the whip-wielding prosecutor. And I think it's adoptive daughter of von Karma. Correct me if I'm wrong. And she is actually really great. Oh, and actually, if I remember correctly, it's not the surgical clinic. What is there's a hospital, like an actual named hospital that they go to in one of the investigations, which I think actually shows back up later on in the series, or is referenced later on in the series. Give me a second. I really want to double check this. What is the clinic's name? I feel like I'm gonna forget it again. But yeah, I'd give it a 2 out of 2. There's a lot of super positives with it, but there's a strong aspect that, like, I remember just not having fun with, and it feeling very, very clunky to the point of, like, it really, like, stuck with me. Okay. Big Top. First off, it's going there. There's no ifs, ands about it. It's going there. Big Top is one of the few. Actually, I think, yeah, it's the only game where there is actually, like, an inconsistency in the storytelling logic. Like, there's a point where one of the ventriloquist is, there's a whole segment where they're talking about how he's at front of the tent, but then there's another part where apparently his puppet was stolen and hidden somewhere, and in those two facts and how they're supposed to play out would not actually make sense. Like, there's actual, like, it's not a loophole. It's a contradiction. Yeah, perplexing puppet. Yeah, okay. So they noted here. According to Max Galactic, at the night of the murder, he went directly to the rehearsal in the Big Top to the ringmaster's office to meet Russell. After the ringmaster left to meet Acro at the lodging house, Galactica remained in the office, unaware that anything was wrong until the police arrived. However, he also claimed to have hidden Woodman's puppet Trillo in the ringmaster's office at some point. This would have had to have been after the ringmaster left the office, since Woodman had Trillo with him when he saw Russell enter the plaza. Therefore, Galactica would have had to have left the office in order to steal Trillo, contradicting his statement about never leaving the office. And, like, this isn't so much like this is not a Galactica lie to us, right? This is just a lack of just not spell checking, fact checking when it came to actually making the game. And yeah, like Rise of Retcons, the case Rise from the Ashes, which is written after the release, contradicts a few statements made in Big Top. For example, at one point, Wright mentions that Miles Edgeworth's last appearance in court was during his own time as a defendant. Then he disappears, which contradicts the timeline. So yeah, there's a lot of issues when it comes to Big Top. Which, here's the thing, it's sad for two reasons. One being that a lot of the characters in Big Top are actually really good. Like Galactica is a great character. Mo the Clown, I absolutely love it. Trillo, fantastic. Like, they're great characters. But, oh wait, no, and I almost forgot another part. Okay. I'll get to that in a second. One thing that I do have to make sure I mention though when I talk about this. So after the success of the first game, the creator went out on a vacation, and when he came back, Capcom was like, "Hey, this game did amazing. We want a second one." It's like, okay, cool. He was given like half the time and expected to make 5 cases. And mind you, the first game originally only had 4. So he was given half the time and given more work. And he was saying, well, but this game only has 4 cases. One of those cases was cut and actually put into the third game. And it also is one of the worst cases. While also giving us some of the best characters. Like, it's weird. Like, some of the worst cases can give us some of the best characters. Now, okay, I'm going to go on a little tangent about Acro, okay? So, our main antagonist in this one is an acrobat named Acro, who was injured and in a wheelchair. His brother Bat, you get it? You get it? Puns. Was injured in an accident, okay? Acro acknowledges throughout the game and even after he's caught that it was a pure accident. It was a complete accident perpetrated by the ringmaster's daughter. Now, he also says that he owes everything to Ringmaster, and he bursts into tears, because, like, he never wanted to kill the Ringmaster. He owes everything to this guy. He was, like, father to him, and he's ripped apart by it. But, like, he felt he needed to do this and, like, get revenge. Remember, this was revenge against the Ringmaster's daughter. Okay? So, Acro, an absolute fucking monster, his brother, who is not dead, gets injured in an accident that he acknowledges was a freak accident that was nobody's actual fault, puts fault on his father figure's daughter, and tries to set up an entire incident where he kills her. Not only kills her, like, part of it was sending her a message before she died. Like, he had this whole elaborate thing set up to send this girl a message, this young teenage girl a message before she died. And he ends up killing the father figure. And still tries to blame it on a completely innocent member of his quote-unquote circus family. And the most infuriating part about this is how everyone's like, poor Acro. Poor Acro. Like, even, like, there's this cutscene at the end where, like, Miles Edgeworth is seen, like, go easy on Acro, blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Acro is a fucking monster. Don't go easy on Acro. He is a fucking monster. He is a terror. If you actually think about everything that he did and everything he planned, he should be put away for fucking life. So, like, there are so many issues with Big Top. So many. So many issues with Big Top. Alright, Farewell My Turnabout. Last case of the second game. This is a very good case. This involves the Steel Samurai again. Miles Edgeworth comes back. Franziska von Karma also has a big part to play. Dick Gumshoe, our detective friend, has a big part to play. Maya's arrested by this assassin. The person we're defending, halfway through, comes out and says, "Yeah, I did it, but what the fuck are you gonna do about it? If you say anything, your partner's gonna die." And it puts us in this awkward situation, and it is so good. Like, it is really, really good. And, like, there are parts where you can be like, well, if he did this or that, like, it might have, ended sooner, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's right, Will Powers comes back, Wendy Oldbag comes back. There's so many good scenes from this whole case. Like, this case is great. Yeah, no, I don't know what else really I can say about this, right? It's I can't like, I don't want to spoil everything about this case. Like, it is so good. It is such a good ending. Like, they do really well with the last cases. They do really well with the final cases. I will note that. It's not the most satisfying last case, but it's really all right. And I know I'm looking down, like, Charles said they were going to leave pretty soon. And I know they said something about Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. So let me cut right to my rant about Layton versus Wright, okay? Let me cut right to my rant about Layton versus Wright. This thing is such an insult to Phoenix Wright. This entire game is such an insult to Phoenix Wright. And it's not even a good Professor Layton game. It's like medium difficulty throughout for Professor Layton players. And for Ace Attorney fans, it is just insulting to Nick. Alright? And I will go into spoilers about this because I don't fucking care, because no one should play this game. Alright? And this was made by the creator. Like, this was penned by the creator of Phoenix Wright, because, like, the person who created Layton really wanted to work with him. So it's not even about the difficulty of the cases. It's not about any clunkiness of cases. It's not about difficulty of puzzles. And, like, the first case, like, the little introductory case you get set in, like, present day is fine. It's a fine case. It's a fine little introductory little case thing. It's fine. What I hate is every time there's any sort of backing to Phoenix, it is ripped away or it is made moot. It's like, he wins first case. Oh, Maya's quote unquote burned at the stake, right? He discovers some big revelation in the middle of this case, and it cuts right to Layton doing a sword fight. And it cuts back to Phoenix Wright in the courtroom, and all of that energy is now gone. Phoenix is near the end of the court. He's about to, like, really push toward the end. Professor Layton comes in and steals all of the fucking thunder. Hell, the reason Phoenix is even in this land doesn't make sense. Like, the entire reason he's there. Like, to sum it up really quick, there's a book, right? Phoenix opens the book with Maya. And in the cutscene, a flash of light, and then the book's there, but they're gone, as if they're transported to another world. They're not. Of course they're fucking not. The book apparently has an ability to, like, hypnotize people to, like, fall unconscious. Okay? So you have here a famous attorney and his assistant from across the ocean, from, like, another country, visiting and prosecuting, like, or defending in your country. And there's a book just left in the defense's area. He opens it and he falls unconscious. Apparently, nobody from that room to like apparently a magical truck parked outside saw someone carrying the bodies of these two to a truck and driving off with them. Much less, the National Guard was not stirred to find this kidnapped attorney. And I'm like, oh, no, you were taken by accident. What the fuck you mean by accident? You meaning you didn't have to, like, kidnap me? You found me unconscious, but like, oh, well, they might have thought it was a dream, so we'll just leave them. It is the dumbest fucking thing. Like, if you've played through the game, and you reread the actual story, like, the actual story reason why he's there, it makes no fucking sense. I played through this entire game, and it felt like an insult to Phoenix Wright. And I don't like that. It's not even a good late in game. So that's why I don't even rank it. Like, I don't rank the cases, because the game in general was just, it pissed me off, alright? I was just pissed off. Alright, so. Third game, Ace Attorney. We got this delicious little boy over here, Godo, right? And we get to play some games as Miafe. Let me queue up the cases one by one. So the first case, Turnabout Memories. This is our new, how to play trial, our first trial of the game. But it is a big fucking thing. So this is Miafe's first trial. This is also her meeting Phoenix for the first time. And this is her meeting with Oh, no, this isn't her first trial, is it? No. No. This is her... Because she's still... This is her second time in court. Right, okay. This is her second time in court. No way, Black Friday deals? What? In July? This is second time in court. And they do reintroduce Marvin Grossman, which was a character we'd met in the first game, who is forgettable and kind of an ass. Like, I'm sorry, like, you can defend Grossman, but honestly, fuck him. Alright. So, it's us against another, like, Pain. So, that's another thing. That's the one thing I forgot if you don't know the series. Every single introductory trial, we're against, Winston Payne, or another member of the Payne family. Like, their last names are always Payne. So, yeah, this trial, it's still Winston Payne, quote-unquote, the rookie killer. Yeah, he goes downhill real fast. And then he leaves the country. So, we're introduced to Phoenix in his dumb little heart sweater. We're introduced to Dahlia, who is probably she is the best antagonist in the entirety of Ace Attorney. You can fight me on that, but Dahlia is the best antagonist we've ever had. Like, not to say other antagonists weren't great and weren't memorable, but like, Dahlia felt like she could kill you with just a look. Like, shivers up my spine sometimes. Dahlia was friggin' just cold as ice. And the whole case is about, like, poisoning and electrocution, and like Phoenix is on trial for murder, but Phoenix is still defending Dahlia when the fingers pointed at her because he believes in her wholeheartedly, which does come back around. It is not for no reason. Like, they play it up as if like he is just a lovesick puppy who knows nothing, but there is an actual reason later on. Like, I was like, it shocked me, and it actually made for one of my best pairings like ever. Like, I have a favorite canonical pairing. The fact that it's never come up again actually pisses me off. Um, but it presents itself so well. It is very satisfying. It does get a little clunky here and there. And it's still, I say, not as good as the one from the second game. So which side is it? It's further in. The cases are better, right? So I'm gonna put you at the end of that tier. I'm going to put you in front of that one. I'm gonna put you there. I'll put you back here. Yeah, still back there a bit. Yeah, okay. No, that looks good. That looks good for right now. No. So, yeah, no, it's still a really good introductory case. It is still a really good introductory case. So Stolen Turnabout. This is actually like one where they break from the norm, because every other Phoenix Wright case has been about murder. This one starts off as trying to catch a thief, and that thief we then have to defend, but they're claiming that they are the thief, even though we're trying to defend them that they aren't the thief. And then it becomes a murder trial, where then we do want to show that he's the thief, but he wasn't that thief at that time. And the actual Rondolite's great. This is also we meet Godo, who is another great character, who honestly I feel like should have gotten more story. Like we should have gotten more out of him than we did. Like he's given a lot, but I wanted more, right? And the items from the second game show up. The urn from the second game shows back up. It's played very Lupin the Third ish, like the the phantom robber comes in with the detective hot heels and blah blah blah. Luke Atme ends up being our antagonist, and essentially Luke's whole thing was to try and get caught, quote unquote caught, as the Phantom Thief, so that he would have an alibi for the murder that we later discover. So we actually break into another courtroom to stop his trial, to prove him guilty for this whole thing. And hold on, water. And then the ending for his, I think, is actually really, really fun. Wherein he gives one really long testimony. It's like 10 to 12 segments long. And you're only allowed to push one statement on it, the one that has the error. And if you push anything else, then you lose. And it's one of those things where, similar to before, you had to one of the previous cases, everything in the statement is true, but you have to figure out why, like what truth doesn't make sense. And it is I find this case very fun and satisfying. It is such a departure from the norm while being just as engaging. So if you can't guess, like it is also getting 3. I would put it higher over here. Okay, while we're here, we're just gonna put that here. Okay. Yeah. So, receipt for Turnabout. This was unfortunately that other case from the second game that got cut and then put like into a later game. And this takes place in a restaurant with so much weird, poorly explained logic. It is not approached well, and it's sad because the antagonist Furio Tigre, who sometimes looks as like just angry Phoenix, which is a thing they actually play into. Like there's a reason he looks like Phoenix in this. He's a great antagonist. He is. But he is just drowned in this horrible, horrible case. And retroactive plot inconsistency. Ooh, what's this? Oh, this refers back to Ashes. The trial, Wright and friends indicate that they are going to the newly opened Tre Bien to celebrate. However, despite his apparent previous visit, Wright seems unaware in Recipe for Turnabout of the restaurant's terrible cuisine until he tries it. Yeah. It is, like, aside from Maya being, like, a waitress for a bit, like, the only other notable thing that I find actually funny when I think back to it is the fact that Wright and essentially everyone that works under Phoenix is is in good with the mobs of their, like, chosen areas. Like, through this whole thing, like, uh like, he's in good with that mob. Later, like, Apollo gets in good with the mob. And I think Athena as well. I'd have to double check that. But I find it funny, like, in the Ace Attorney world, like, Phoenix is like, the mob won't touch him. And, like, actually in one of the spin-off games, in Project Cross Zone, because Phoenix Wright and Maya are summonable, like, attack unit in that. They're introduced because they apparently were defending the was it the two main characters from Yakuza? Was it Goro and is it Kazuya? I can't. I'm blanking on their names. Yeah, he's apparently defending them. And later it's inferred that he defended the Majima uh clan, which is, like, another powerful kind of family. So, like, Phoenix isn't good with, like, all of the mobs in Japan apparently in the multiverse. So, like, he doesn't know it, but no one's ever gonna touch him. Which is, like, one of those little side things, like, if you think about it, is amazing. Why won't everyone put a hit on Phoenix? Oh, the mob's not gonna touch him. He ain't good with them. But yeah, no, Recipe Turnabout is garbage. It's garbage. But I can't blame him too bad because he was put under, like, a time limit for that. And actually, as another aside for why I hate Leighton Phoenix Wright, he had all the time in the world to plan and write that entire thing, and it turned out to be garbage. All right, he had an excuse for Recipe and for Big Top. He had no excuse for Leighton. If you can't tell, I just really don't like that game. All right, Turnabout Beginnings. So this game actually had 5 total cases, like, in order. Turnabout Beginnings is actually Mia's first case, first time in court. She faced off against Miles Edgeworth, who is still a young prosecutor at the time. And it's her first meeting with Dahlia. And just Dahlia just continues to show what a horrible fucking human she is. And there's some issues with this case, like how it's, like, how you go about presenting it. It creates such a good, like, it sets up good reasons for Godot with, like, his backstory. It sets up good reasons for Dahlia and Mia for where they're at. It sets up the next case because it takes place in the exact same physical location. And it has a lot of positives to it. But, like, and it gives you a kind of a sad ending, which is, like, necessary. But there are still things that kind of hold it back from, like, a 3. It's like I would give it a high 2-star. I'm gonna put you back there, buddy. I'd give it a high 2-star. It does what it needs to do, and it was still really good. All right, Bridge to the Turnabout. So Bridge to Turnabout, which was supposed to be, like, the penultimate case period for Phoenix Wright. Like, and for, if you played through the trilogy, this is it. Like, this is the last case. It actually introduces us to Maya's mother, though we don't know it at the time. Though if you pay attention, you get it. And you, like, reintroduce us again to Dahlia, and to Dahlia's twin sister, who, while we don't know her, Phoenix knows her. all that like time where like Phoenix was like saying like this can't be her, like he was defending her in the first case, and like and like carrying on as if he was like, you know, a dumb lovesick little puppy. He wasn't stupid. He'd only met Dahlia twice. The first day he met her, and that last day where she tried to frame him. She actually put her twin sister up to going on the dates with Phoenix to try and get this necklace that she gifted Phoenix. But Phoenix treasured it so much that he would like laugh it off, like, "Oh, haha, it's funny, it's funny." Iris, that was her name, Iris. Or she was just called Iris, I think. Uh, uh, Yep, no, it was okay, Iris. Um, like every single character we've met in the past comes back. There's a portion where we play as Edgeworth, and we have to go into a court against Francisca von Karma. Nick goes against Godo in the courtroom. Larry Butch shows back up. There is a segment where like Phoenix tries to like swing from a bridge to get to Maya, and like lands in the fucking hospital because he's an idiot. I love him, but he's an idiot. Um, and fucking Dahlia, who is dead, comes back and is like, again, the antagonist. So you have to figure out a way to like fight against a ghost who like technically can't be put behind bars. Um and there's so much to this case, and it is so good. Like as like an end, if this was like the ending to like Phoenix Wright as a trilogy, like this would be great. And Iris and Nick is a coupling that is hinted to continue, because Iris is like still like had a hand in like the cover up, so she has to still go behind bars. But it's hinted to that Nick continues to see her at at the prison and visit her because he fell in love with her and she fell in love with him, while like both were trying to avoid her psychotic sister. Um well, he didn't know that she had a psychotic sister. Um and there's some great moments in this. The entire courtroom fight with Maya Dahlia is fantastic and is so satisfying. Um, it's like I would easily give this 3. Give it 3 stars. I would put it I would put it, yeah, I'd put it in front of that. Yeah, I'd put it in front of that. And also, like, if we're talking like personal preference, I'm putting this one a little ahead too. So that's the original trilogy, right? That's the original trilogy. Now, because I know someone went off to go do their stream. Now we'll talk about the next next 3 games, which are Apollo Justice, Dual Destinies, and Ace Attorney. And just so you know, like what the gap was, so Apollo Justice came out in Japan in 2007. Dual and came out in the US. What was it in worldwide Nintendo DS? Wait, came out on iOS and Android? I did not know it actually came out on iOS and Android. Huh. Oh well. US 2017, really? Oh, 3DS. Okay. It came out on DS before that in 2008. There. Don't mind me, just slightly confused. So, we got that in 2008. Dual Destinies 2013. So, about 5 years. And mind you, like it didn't feel guaranteed that we'd get a game after Apollo. Cuz Apollo, if I remember correctly, didn't do the best. And like I did not love Apollo as a character. And unfortunately, that has to do a lot with the very first case. Did I get rid of this? What's this? This is trial, so we can get rid of that. So, turnabout Trump. Here's the thing, and I'm going to explain this. Okay, I'm going to explain this. Yes, okay. Better on that side, worse that side. Okay. Boom. Okay. Here's the thing. As a case by itself, it's good. As a case by itself, just as a case, it's good. It is a good case. It is far more in depth. It reintroduces Phoenix in like this hobo kind of like garb, introduces us to Apollo, gives us a few more characters, and the crime scene, the setup, the music, like everything about it is actually really, really good. Okay, the case itself is good. All right, I don't want you to get that wrong. Like the turnaround with Gavin, the person you're looking up to being like the actual person who's like, whatever, is good. Everything about it is good. Here is why I put it at 1 star, and will continue to put it 1 star. This was our introduction to Apollo Justice. Okay? This was our introduction to our new protagonist. This is who we're supposed to be putting our faith in. Here's who we're supposed to be playing as, and we're supposed to feel invested and like, as in like, this guy can rise up to be on the level of Phoenix Wright. He can like go the distance. There is something in this guy that can really do something. This case fails at that, in my opinion. Every big revelation in this is orchestrated by Phoenix. The big gotchas are by Phoenix. He basically puppets us the entire time. We don't get the last, like, word in this. It does not feel like we, as Apollo Justice, are the ones, like, pushing this case, finding the contradictions, and doing what needs to be done. It feels like we are the mouthpiece for Phoenix Wright. And I do not like that in the case that you're supposed to be presenting this new character to us who's supposed to be... Oh, actually, you know what? I feel so bad. I had music going in the background for this to like make it so it wasn't just me rambling, and I completely forgot. I just went off on a tangent for a long time, and I forgot to play the music again. My bad. But yeah, as like an introduction to this character, it fails. It fails flat on its face, and it would take me a long time to actually feel like Apollo had risen to that level of ability. It took a long time, and we'll get to why. Alright, so the second case, Turnabout Corner, where we get introduced to Trucy, who is probably one of the best characters introduced in the Apollo Justice universe. Phoenix's adopted daughter, which is this little magician girl. She's great. We also get reintroduced to Emma. Emma's back, and she is now our gumshoe. She is now our detective that we report to. Has all her science stuff still. Wonderful. The entire case is driven by us. Like, at one point, like, Phoenix kind of gives us a hint, but it's no more so than we might get in, like, the original, Phoenix Wright games. We meet Clavier, who is, like, our new prosecutor, and he doesn't feel antagonistic. He feels like, hey, I know what I'm here for. Like, he's actually kind of already done his arc, and he's coming in, like, after that to kind of help, like, guide Apollo, who he sees something in, and kind of works off of. And Clavier's great. Clavier's fantastic. And Trucy's great. And this is the case where Apollo kind of gets in good with the mob because he defends this mob kiddo who basically just he's kind of a dickhead. And there's the picture of him. Oh, come on, there must be a picture of this kid. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Where is this kid? Restaurant. Kitaki. Where? Plum Kitaki. Because it's this Kitaki kid we're trying to defend. Do we not meet him till the trial day? Waki Kitaki. Yeah, this little dickhead idiot kid. He's basically suffering from "I'm gonna be the Hokage right now" syndrome. He's a bit too big for his own britches. And there's some really good parts with like this entire noodle cart segment where we're trying to figure stuff out. Like, it is actually really this case is the best in like his game. I would put it I put it low 3-star. It was pretty good. Where Serenade right now I'm gonna put in high 2-star. Because while it's a case that sometimes can get kind of clunky, it has one of my best kind of aha moments. And give me a sec for more water. So it's a murder that happens during a concert that Clavier, our prosecutor, is part of with his band, and his band is made up of other people of the police force and special investigatives and all that. And he's here with a musician from like another country, and they put on this whole concert, and it's near the end of the concert that this this other dude is murdered backstage. So so we have to do the thing, we're defending people, blah blah blah. And whereas the please tell me you have a thing here of the soundboard. The soundboard back here. The mixing board. So we got this mixing board earlier in the game, actually. We got this earlier, and it was part of a thing where this little mini game part where Clavier's can you help us figure out what was wrong with such and such, which actually seems like a non-issue, oh, we're just gonna learn how to use this mixing board for later. No, the reason that they're using mixing board in the first place actually feeds into the reason that we catch the guy at the end. But here's the thing. They use the same audio that they do later, which makes sense, right? We're just listening to the same audio for this concert port. If you use that mixing board, you can find there's a gunshot you find later in the mixing board. You follow Kristen command to press and ignite remote trigger during the performance. Is able to establish that it's highly likely that this guy was playing a particular section one-handed, therefore allowing him to use the other knife to ignite the trigger. The mixing board is locate the sound of a gunshot. Yeah, there's a bunch of different things you use this mixing board for. It's actually really, really good. And the our opponent in this, or our shark lad here, he's really good, because we piece together that he's the bad guy, but it's not shoved in our face that he is. So it is a good case. It got clunky. Now the penultimate case, or the final case of Succession, which also feeds into the death of this Gramier dude, and talks about why Phoenix Wright is had his badge taken away. There's this whole thing with Phoenix here. This whole last segment is done so poorly. Like, it is done, like, I put it like back here. It is done so poorly. It is so confusing. There are aspects of this that don't make sense why they work the way they do, because we're going back and forth between two different investigations, like, in time, and then, like, there's no satisfying gotcha. They're like, oh, we're gonna introduce this system. Oh, and so, you know, like, this person might be Apollo's mom, but we're never gonna fucking tell him, and everything about this last case is infuriating for different reasons. It is absolutely, entirely infuriating, and it's dumb, and I don't like it. It is just a confusing mess that you just have to slog through, which should not be your final case of a game. And, like, I'm not gonna, I could go off, like, a bit more, but I'm gonna just leave it there. Like, time travel, it's not time travel as part of that. Okay. Time travel that is also not time travel, but has to be time travel, but it's also not time travel. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It is so dumb. It is so absolutely dumb. Alright, fifth game. Right, fifth game, Dual Destinies. Does it get better? Kind of. We actually, I can't remember the order of it. I think we got Layton, yeah, 5th installment, 8th title overall, takes the main series, first time preceded by, so Layton and Phoenix came before, Dual Destinies, which, like, you could understand my mindset, whereas I didn't like Apollo, then I didn't like, you know, Layton. So I was hoping for something better of Dual Destinies, and there were better things in Dual Destinies. And actually, like, it got me, like, another kind of cosplay from Ace Attorney that I love, and another character that I enjoy. But that doesn't make this overall good. So let me get to our cases. And there are 6, because, mind you, this is during 3DS time now, so now we have DLCs that we can do. So the first one, our reintroduction, is Turnabout Countdown, which is someone blew up one of the courthouses, and then someone, like, died in that courthouse. And one of our new defense friends, Athena, is in the courtroom for the first time and defending her friend, but she's in over her head and is starting to have PTSD. Like, actually, like, she has moments of PTSD throughout this entire game, which is actually handled pretty well. In my opinion, I think it's handled pretty well. And she's trying to push through it to help her friend. And Phoenix comes in because he's like, she's a bit over her head. I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna help with, like, this, you know, obvious murderer bomb squad dude. And it introduces Apollo, but Apollo turns into a bit of a bitch. He's kind of a bitch in this game. Athena comes across really well. Like, she comes across as someone who is trying her best, who has skills, who brings out something special to the table, aside from, and I didn't talk about this because I think it was handled like shit in his first game. Apollo has this whole bracelet thing where he can kind of tune into people's tells and tell that they're lying, but in the first game it's handled like dog shit, and it's horrible, and it's not a good mechanic, and I hate it. Her mechanic is she tunes into, like, how, like, people feel when they're giving their you know, when they're giving their wow, why can't I think of the word? Testimony. Thank you. When they're giving their testimony, and can feel like you know, I sense there's a lot of fear when you talk about, like, this section. Can you expand upon that? Which, yeah, there's sci-fi bullshit involved in that. But then again, Phoenix also was able to tell people were lying with a magic stone. So we're fine with that, okay? And this is actually handled really well. One thing, though, that I believe the 2D and even, like, Apollo did much, much better than a lot of their 3D counterparts were breakdowns. So breakdowns, when you caught the killer at the end, they would have a breakdown. Much like in that very first case, he'd throw the toupee and foam at the mouth and collapse. There'd be other times where they'd rip apart their, hat, or like they'd break a table, or they'd faint. Like they'd be these huge dramatic breakdowns, but they'd be so well animated because it was 2D, right? They had the 3D now, but it felt very lazy for a lot of the breakdowns. They felt fluid rather than quick and impactful, and had the snap to it. Because they're breaking down, there's supposed to be a snap. It felt more like this slow, almost embarrassing moment. And that's one of the things I don't like that they kind of changed. It felt like a new direction was taken with the breakdowns, and I did not like them. There's still some good ones, but similar to this one, not as good as it could have been, right? So, Turnabout Countdown is a really good introduction one. I would put it high on the 2 stars, but I would still put it as a 2-star. But it is still a solid first case. The Monsters Turnabout, where there's this whole wrestling thing, and there's a demon, quote unquote demon village, and this is Apollo, and I swear I don't have something against Apollo, but this was not a good case. Athena joins him, and Athena has some great moments, and there are aspects to this case that are actually really, really, they feel really good to go through. And we're also introduced to Simon Blackwell, who is our new prosecutor friend, who is actually one of the better prosecutors they introduced in the series, in my opinion. Blackwell's freaking great. Blackwell's great. He doesn't take shit. And he means so well. He means so well. And actually my favorite part is early on, Apollo's gonna do the bracelet thing, where he's I'm gonna tell if this person's lying, and Blackwell cuts him off. He's like, if you can't do this straight up with facts and logic, then you don't belong here. Don't you dare try that little bullshitty thing with me. And I'm sitting there yes, my boy, yes, let's go. Blackwell's great. That all being said, this case a bit too messy for my blood. I would put it hold on. Yeah, I'd put it there. Yeah, I put it there. Now Turnabout Academy on the opposite end. This is Athena's own going out with her first she's doing everything. She's fending her friends. This is at an academy for prosecutors and defendant and attorneys, defense attorneys. It's against Simon Blackwell again. The characters in this, it is so character driven, but the characters are all so good. The antagonist is good. These three friends that you kind of meet are good. Clavier's back and he's great. Everyone else has kind of a backup to her, but it's her driving it. It's constantly her driving it, and she comes into her own so fucking well. It is so good. There's so much about this case I don't want to talk about, because I would want people, if they can, to experience this case. It's one of the few really, really good breakdowns that, an antagonist gets. It is very satisfying when he gets buried. It's also really satisfying. Because there are anime cutscenes in 5th and 6th game during some of the cases. There are some really satisfying cutscenes in this game. In this case, I should say. And, what is it? Hugh and Robin, freaking great. They also flip the what you'd expect of them. Because, if you met the two of them, you'd think, oh, well, Hugh must be the prosecutor and Robin must be the defense attorney. No, Robin's studying to be a prosecutor, and Hugh's like the defense attorney, but like they're framed kind of opposite of like Apollo and like I want to say Edgeworth a bit. And like I had to remind myself throughout the game like no, this is the prosecutor and this is the defense attorney. And Athena's friend that's stuck in the middle again, the one that we met in the first case, is actually studying to be a judge. And I love everything about this case. This case is one of my favorite cases. Like it very easily goes up there. Like I would put it right about here. It is one of my favorites. All right, Cosmic Turnabout. Uh So I mentioned earlier there's like a third case syndrome here. This is that third case syndrome. But not because the case itself is bad and finished and done with. This case is merely a setup to the actual final case. Like, everything in this just leads into the next. Like, this is basically your appetizer without any sort of satisfying edge to it. And Apollo continues to be a dickhead during this. And, like, there is just so much about this that is really, like, annoying. Like, you're not out to actually find who killed what and who did this, or, like, this phantom person. No, you get some good backstory. But, like, it ends up just being, like, catching the person in charge of the Space Center that they lied about X, Y, and Z. And then after the case is over, like, oh, he did it for this reason, which, okay, that makes sense. So there's nothing satisfying about it at all. There's no, like, he has actually one of the better breakdowns, in my opinion, in, like, 3D realm. But, like, there's nothing satisfying about this case at all. Turnabout for Tomorrow. As a final case, this is great. This is absolutely great. You get a kind of wrap-up of Blackwell's story. You get kind of a wrap-up of Athena's backstory. You get a wrap-up of our new detective friend Fulbright's story, who's not, like, actual Fulbright, but, like, he is such a good character, like, both in and out of, like, that Fulbright persona, that I absolutely adore him. You get Phoenix versus Edgeworth again. You get Apollo, like, who is now, like, will now stop being an absolute bitch. And, like, you help Athena work. You get these, like, black Psylocke things that appear around Athena, which essentially blocks out a memory due to PTSD from the memory. And you see her having a full mental break on the stand. And it is, like, it is so heart-wrenching to watch it. And then there's something thrilling when you finally are able to, like, break her out of that darkness, like that, like, and she's not better, she's not cured, like, she faints, but, like, and she's pushing through this mental, like, hurdle that she's, like, gone through. But, like, there's something so satisfying about watching these black Cyclops, like, break, and her, like, getting to actually start working on herself without being constantly stuck in this, like, PTS mode when, like, certain things trigger it. And it turns out that Blackwell's been watching, like, from the shadows the whole time, both to catch the actual killer of Athena's mom, but also is, like, constantly just been watching Athena because he wants to protect her and wants the best for her. And there's so much wholesomeness in this. There's just so much that's really just so good about this case. It has one of the better breakdowns. It's like the final antagonist is so good. Like, it is, like, I wish there was more they put into him because it would have been so much better. But, like, this is such a good, like story finals case, right? It is so good. I would put it I put it, actually, you know what? I'd put it back there. Yeah. Like, I still love this case a bit more. I still do. Alright, the DLC case. This felt like a return to form to Phoenix Wright, where he is defending a whale against murder. Pearl comes back. A bunch of other side characters come back. The antagonist in this has a wonderful moment. It is totally worth, like, what? How much did it cost at the time? Like $6. It is hands down so worth $6. Like, it was fun. It was just fun. It's not going to set the world on fire. It isn't, like, amazing. But it honestly, it was simply fun. It was just simply fun. And I enjoyed it entirely. I would put it as... I'd still put it like low third tier. But it was fun. It was a fun case. Alright, now on to the newest of like the core series before we get to Great Ace Attorney. So Spirit of Justice. The game I wanted to love. The game had so much promise. So essentially, Phoenix goes to Maya's home country, and it has this what's it called? Fuck! Please tell me you say it in here. When a country is ruled over by the queen rather than the king. Help me out with that. What is that called? I want to say metrocracy, but that doesn't sound right. I was hoping they'd say so in here. Boo. Give me a second. I'm trying to find the goodness, what is it called? Yeah, no, I can't find the... Essentially, this country's ruled over by the queen, and she put in place a doctrine wherein, if a defense attorney defended someone and that person was found guilty, then they would suffer, the defending attorney would suffer the same fate as the person he was defending. So people would essentially just get shown a piece of evidence or two, and there'd be a prosecutor, and then the person who's like just the defendant themselves would be defending, because no one wanted to do that. Phoenix, being Phoenix, was like, that's fucking dumb. Let me show you how the fuck it's done. And he busts in to do this whole defense thing. Another Pain, which I believe was from the 5th game, shows up because he fled to this country. Oh, easy job for prosecutors, right? So he flees to this country to do the job. And the antagonist here is pretty okay. They really kind of struggled with like theming the name, and the case was a bit clunky. His breakdown was kind of funny. And it was a good introduction to oh, what is her name that does one of the characters that we get, Rafa Padma, who is the royal priestess who performs what's a divination dance, which shows us the last thing that the dead person saw, with kind of keywords to clue us into the other senses, like what they smelled, what they heard, stuff like that. Of course, Phoenix finds the kid innocent, but like it's okay, but like it's not great. Magical turnabout. So we go back to our home country, and we, for some reason, back in our home country, we meet the new prosecutor, who is from Maya's home country. Is it Nayuda Sadmati, and we get Emma Sky back as well. And this is Apollo defending Trucy against a charge of murder over a whole magic act that apparently went south. The antagonist is actually after Trucy's magical family line, and just is trying to set her up actively. And there is, it is a solid case. I'm gonna 100% give it. It is a solid case. It was a fun case to figure out. But there are just so many things that kept it from being great, in my opinion. And there are aspects of it that just, while really inventive, I could not get over. I can't really think of any other way to put it. It's like, it was good. It was good. And it's going to get a high 2-star, but it would still just be a 2-star. 2 stars, I feel like I have the least to say about them. So Rite of Turnabout. This is, we reintroduce to Maya, because she's in her home country. We get more information on the, like, how effed up this country is because of the whole defense doctrine thing. Because no one's getting defended against any charges. We really dive into why it's important to have someone cross-examine the divination parts. And it's just, like, the Maya scenes are fun and all, and like, there are aspects of it that are like, that make sense, but again, there really isn't much that's that exciting. Like, the most excitement we get is the dead soul, like Maya does the spirit channeling like she has in the past, but apparently it's such a rare technique that only the royal family generally gets to do it, and those who have that ability get to be in the royal family. Like, you cannot be a queen or princess or anything without having that level of spiritual power. So it's a big fucking deal that Maya can do it. Much less Pearl. And the person that she defends, like, she summons that, like, we're coming to try and, like, figure out who murdered him. He's lying to protect someone else. So we have to basically call bullshit on the dead soul. So there's a lot in it, but again, it feels like it falls short. Like, I'd say about this short. Like, again, this game wasn't as engaging as I hoped, except for this one. Okay, this is a standout. Turnabout Storyteller, and if you're wondering, yes, this is the one where the weird clown girl came from, that everyone sort of, like, simped over. And there's some really interesting... So, this is back to Athena. This is back in our home country. This introduces us to a theater style... what's the theater style again? The defendant... So we're defending someone named Bucky Wheat. Buckwheat, essentially. Wheat Soba. What is the... Rakugo is the theater style. And the thing is, the characters in this were the most memorable part. Like, Blackwell's on our side, and he's actually on the stand as a witness. Athena's doing her thing. She does fantastically. Here's an interesting part of it, too. So, aside from Clown Girl, the other witness that we have, big witness, that is glossed over because of her, Um, what is his name? I think it was back up here. Let me go back up. Wendo. Wendo Tenado. So Wendo's a performer, but he is in game. Yeah, he has DID. He has dissociative identity disorder, and in game that is portrayed as he has he kind of shows himself in a different manner. The one that we first get to know is Wendo, who is the actual performer. Then we get quote unquote the jester Patches, who kind of shows himself like this. We have Kisegawa, who is the courtesan. So he had Wendo has 3 male and 1 female identities. But they also have a 4th identity, Owen, who actually all 3 previous identities are trying to protect, because those 3 think that Owen might have actually been the killer. And Owen apparently only shows up when all the other 3 get drunk, because Owen isn't allowed to get drunk. So when the other 3 are inebriated, Owen takes over. And if honestly, like, I really liked this character. Like, it's not like the best. Like, I wouldn't say the best. It's not in any way disrespectful. But like, you have to present it in like this anime courtroom style, right? So it's over exaggerated to a bit, quite a bit here and there. But it's not disrespectful at all, and I really like the character. Yeah, there's a whole breakdown of it, of their DID. Yeah, it's I really like, it's a standout character for me. And then of course you got I completely clicked out of the case. And you got Clown Girl, who is the actual murderer. And the case itself is just, it's very memorable. Like, I remember it very, very well. And the breakdown also with Gero is really, really good. It's not the best, but it is solid. So like, I really loved that case. I would put it like right around, like, as far as my enjoyment, I guess I just really like Athena cases in hindsight. Turnabout Revolution, United States civil trial. So this one is cut up into 2 different sort of cases. Yeah, because it goes over several days, and there's 2 halves to this. One being, we find out more about Apollo. We get solid Apollo backstory. Dirk, who is kind of a like freedom fighter back in Maya's country, we find out is the adoptive dad, yeah, foster dad, I'll say, of Apollo, and Apollo really loved him, and he shows up at Apollo's office, or Phoenix's office, and they actually have this little adventure trying to find this sacred thing called the Founder's Orb, which apparently was stolen. And in doing all, like, throughout all this, we find out who Apollo's biological dad is. We find, like, he's hinted more to, like, his mom. There's this whole, like, yeah, this doctor's murder, who is researching the Founder's Orb. It's not going to load the picture. Great. There's a whole treasure art section. There's honestly, like, this great whole section. And then we actually go in the courtroom against Phoenix, who was hired to, like, for, what was the guy's name? Addison, Attishan, Paul Attishan Wimperson, who ends up being the antagonist, like the actual person who killed the doctor. And he hires Phoenix. Phoenix, to his credit, like he kind of knows this guy's kind of full of shit, like he gets it, but he needs Apollo to give him 100% because that's how Phoenix like finds the truth with Edgeworth. They give each other 100%. So he goes full out against Apollo as a prosecutor. And it's uneasy at first. Like, Apollo's like, why the fuck are you doing this? But, like, by the end, he kind of gets it. And, like, it feels like finally, in the 6th fucking game, 2 games after Apollo's introduced, that he finally earns his fucking stripes. Like, Athena earned hers for me before Apollo did. And, like, for, like, this weird, like... And that's, like, the first half of this case, is this. Then, they take the orb back to Maya's country to kind of call bullshit on the queen there and find out what's going on there. There are so many solid twists, so many solid turns. Yeah, Turnabout Revolution, that's like the second half of this case. Because it's all separate cases, like, really? But they, instead of how they played it in the was it the 5th? Yeah, in the 5th game, as like while they are 2 separate cases, they don't break things up and make it feel like they just try to get another case in on the box art. Like, no, this feels like this is a solid continuation. We get a great revelation about Dirk. We get great revelations about the priestess, about the queen, about like the prosecutor. Like, everyone gets so, like, Apollo like proves himself in this case, like 100%. Like, he's got Phoenix next to him, and he's taking the lead over Phoenix at times, and it is really good. Is it the best? No, but I love how they did it. I would put it like low, like here it would be 3-star, but it's still really good. Turnabout Time Traveler. This is the DLC case for the 6th game. And we get Larry Butts again. We get Edgeworth again. We get Maya back. And we get kind of another, similar to the whale thing, another kind of old school, like, running with Phoenix case. But this one isn't as good. This one is very convoluted. It is, like, messy. Like, you can do complicated cases, but, like, this is messy. And I don't have the energy to go into why it's messy, but like it is, like I was hoping for so much from this, just to be kind of back to form with, like, you know, Edgeworth and all this, but like it got way too weird way too fast. And like I'd have to put it, like, it's not, well, I'll put it low 2-star, but like it is barely in 2-star. It is no, I'm no. I can't. Now we get to Great Ace Attorneys, Adventures 1, Adventures 2, or Chronicles. I played this last year. I absolutely loved this fucking game. And to be... oh yeah, these were downloadable issues. Yeah, we're not gonna do those. Great Departure. So the first case, the introductory case, the characters and the universe, solid first case. Some really good moments in it. Great character building. We get like we get Naruhodo's ancestor. We also get Pain's ancestor shows up. The judge actually has a fucking name and not just the judge. All the characters feel very memorable. The detective, actually not so much. Like, the detective keeps showing up and he's a good guy, but he just isn't as memorable as past detectives. But it's a good first case. It is really, really good. Although I'd probably put it in a 2-star, but it is good. It is good first case. Unbreakable Speckled Band. As much as I love this case because it introduced us to Herlock Sholmes, and Herlock is fantastic. There isn't that bite to this case because there's no courtroom. The entire thing is carried by all the segments with Herlock, which, mind you, are good, but there's so many things unanswered in this, and there's just these loose threads that are just lying there, that there's so much unsatisfying with it. But it gave me Herlock, so like it gave me Herlock, so it's going above the first one. The Runaway Room. And this is kind of a running theme in like the first game, is there's so many unsatisfying endings. Because the first game you find someone guilty but find out that they'll probably be extradited because they're out of the country. Second one, well, you kind of find out who it is, but it's left very like somber. Third case, again, there is a bit of foul play being done by one of the people there. We get introduced to a new jury sort of system. We get introduced to Gina Lestrade, who is beautiful. We get introduced to like a bunch of wonderful side characters. We get introduced to Beric von Zykes. We get introduced to Magnus McGilded, who's a dickhead, and you can tell he's a dickhead. But there's like this unsatisfying ending to it, but it is done in a solid story way. And while it doesn't feel as satisfying, you know it's not supposed to, and it doesn't really hamper it as much. So I'm actually gonna put low 3, but that doesn't mean it's not good, because it is. Runaway, yeah. Clouded Kokoro. Similar to the third case, though we do get a bit more of a reason as to what happened, though it turns out to be just an accident at the end of the day. Really, this is another one's carried by Herlock. And there's a lot of like good character moments to it, and there's no guilty party, but there's a lot of people who did shitty things that ended up putting someone in the hospital. Now, mind you, like the first game, a lot of these end a little unsatisfying, except the last case. But then it all comes back around in the second game, which I greatly admire. Like, he made this with the plan of a second game. But Clouded Kokoro, well, it has a lot of good setup. Like, I'd put it back there. Actually, I'd put it back there a bit. So it's solid. It's solid. But again, the mind hasn't been blown yet, except for Herlock. Herlock is always great. Now, Adventure of the Unspeakable Story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. This was fucking great. We get Gina full as a cast member with entire like this entire backstory. We get some great dances of deduction. We get great moments with Herlock both before and after he's like injured. Basically the things that we come to like find out are huge. There's a segment where like it made sense. I'm just gonna say there's a segment, because I played this right here. I forget, Eggert Benedict is a person in this. There is a segment where, because you can have multiple people on the stand, so you can ask different things and look for different cues during this game. There's a part of the court of the case where you're talking to someone, and the entire time there are two individuals having a discussion to themselves, which is very out of the ordinary. And you have to interrupt them during your cross-examination to actually proceed the story, which actually took me a while to do, but it made sense. And the revelations that come out about after this case, like, I can only imagine people who played this and then had to wait for the game, like, all, like, the different, like, trying to figure out what it meant. Like, I can only imagine how much more that, like, weighed on players. So for that reason, it gets a very high 3-star. It's a very satisfying case. And now we easily get, with the setup of the first game, one of the best Ace Attorney games. Period. I cannot think of, like, I'm looking through these. I can't think of any one of these cases that I would say is like really bad. Like, none of these are bad. Like the first one, you're playing as your previous assistant back in Japan, defending her friend, with like really memorable characters, which feeds into this ongoing story. You like the murder victim is like the murderer from the first game in the first case. So there's connections there. It feeds in so heavily. You can tell there's going to be such a deeper plot with this, but this case was so satisfying. And like even like the mini memo, the written mini memo, the antagonist in this one, after the game's done, like you can't really say he was like necessarily wholly wrong in like why he did it and why he believes so strongly in it. It is a great reintroduction. It is fantastic. There are some great moments in this. I'd put it right about here. Great case. Memoirs of Clouded. This is a follow-up to like the woman getting accidentally stabbed outside, where no one was really at fault, but everyone was at fault. Now you find out, no, there's some real assholes here. Including the woman who got stabbed. And this, like, you saw two weirdos in that case that never came up again. Well, they're main characters in this one. Like, that was more set up. Like, he set up so much in the first game. The Curse Complex, yeah. Like, there's so much good in this case. And it goes for a while, too. It is a long case. It is not a short case. And, like, the breakdown is great. Like, how you get around to, like, the actual, like, you know, the gotcha moment's great. Van Zeek's is great. It's another really good case. It's not as good as the first one, I would say, but it is a really good case. I put it, like, right... No, I'd put it above that. Yeah, I'd put it right above there. Really good case. Return of the Departed Soul. The entire science exhibition case. There are huge revelations in this case. Like, the only issue I have is, like, at the very end, it's a little not as clear as to how you're supposed to, like, get around to, like, the very, like, last revelation. Like, that's a little muddled. But everything else leading up to it is so very good. Everything with Herlock is so good. Everything with the Wax Museum, so fucking good. More stuff with Gina Lestrade, so good. Like, it is again just another really solid case that gets you very invested in the characters and their world. There's so much good in it. There's just one little bit that kind of holds it back a bit. I would end up putting it kind of low. Put it right about here. Yep. Twisted Karma and The Last Bow. Can this go away, please? Thank you. So this is the... Yeah, this is the first half of the, This is the first half of a whole, like, huge case. And as opposed to, like, the previous times when, like, one case has taken up 2 chapters, this feels big enough, and it feels like you were going to come to a resolution, and then that resolution changed at the end of the case, and now we need another whole case instead. And I believe there is this the one with... Let me double check something real quick. Right, and this has a really good sort of like ending resolution part. Like after the court case, the end of this chapter actually comes about in the investigative period with Herlock, and there's like a really nice piece of revelation at the end of it. It is a very strong chapter. I'll put it that way. I'm not gonna give it full 3 stars, but I would put it high in the 2 stars. Like I'd probably put it top if this will work right. Put it high in the 2 stars. Now D5. Motherfucker. This fucking case. Like the resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. The final chapter resolves everything in the first 2 games so nicely. There's no loose threads. You get one of the best fucking segments with Herlock and his partner. You get great cross-examinations. You get like such jumping the whale moments, but like at that point like it feels like fine, run with it. Like there's so solid good points and like actual like worry and like oh, I fucking love this as a last case. Like I absolutely adore this as a last case. Like I can sit here and try and pick apart little things here and there. This could have gone better, this might have been better, but like there was so much resolution. Everything was built up to this case, and everything felt so good to finally get out in the open. It is, and there's such good character moments in it too, like for Gina, for like kind of like a cap end to Tobias, unfortunately, to Strongheart, to Asogi, even to like Watson and Herlock. It is Otomika Toba. There's so much good. There's so much good in this. And everything felt like it would. So here's another thing, right? That I haven't really talked about. So I do watch other streamers like and other people who've played through this game. I like seeing how other people came about to the resolutions, how people discovered it, how they reacted to different aspects of it. And like there are parts of this trial that felt super simple to me, because like I've played every Ace Attorney, and like I know generally how they think. I know when I should keep an eye on things. I know when I should look in and investigate things. And it's difficult for me to get confused in a case. And there's some parts that like it felt very natural what way they were going, what they were expecting to do. To other people, like it took them a while, but it didn't take them too long. Like they didn't get frustrated to a point where I feel like they would have stopped. Like it felt like just enough that they were pushing, and when they got to the resolution, they felt really good, and like all that stress was gone. It's like there's something just perfect about this case, in my opinion, that I put it at the top of my list. So leaving all these aside, this is my list, my star list. This is where I'd put all the cases. There's a lot of Apollo near the bottom, a lot of Athena near the top, a lot of great Ace Attorney up top. I'm gonna save that too. I'll put full list Ace Attorney. I'm gonna save that. I'll post it later. Yeah, I really wanted to try something different tonight, and this is like a full discussion that I've been waiting to like have, and whether or not there's only like one person watching me or 10, like I really don't care. Like this is something I wanted to do.